So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This is our 5th annual Makomborero event. And, you know, we're post-lockdown. You guys could be anywhere this evening. So I really appreciate you guys joining us today. So my name is Tinashe. I'm a member of the UK Board of Trustees for Makomborero, and I'll be your MC for this evening. But before we do get started, of course, we have to sort out all the housekeeping. So a couple of things. For those of you who've joined us on Zoom, we currently have about 35 attendees on Zoom. I strongly recommend that when on Zoom, you've got on the top right-hand corner, you've got an option to actually select active speaker option. So please, could you select that option? That's if you're on a PC or a laptop. If you're on a mobile phone, that option will be somewhere on that screen. But if you can, please select your active speaker option. In addition to the 30+ attendees we have on Zoom, we've got quite a number of attendees who've joined us through Facebook Live. That's usually our Zimbabwe supporters, so thank you all for joining us from there. Unfortunately, however, for those people who have joined us on Facebook Live, we will not be able to engage with the attendees on Facebook. So what will happen is if you do have any questions, still free to send them across, not a problem. We'll attend to those questions after the event. Unfortunately, we won't be able to interact with the Facebook attendees. Next on the housekeeping, this event is being recorded. So what we will be doing is we'll send a copy of this event to all the attendees who've attended tonight, as well as putting it up on our YouTube page. So look out for that. You might want to watch it again. You might want to share it with people who might be interested in hearing about the charity. And then another point on housekeeping is, for those of you who've attended year upon year, you know that regardless of the theme that we choose, it's always advertised as our supporters evening. This is a great opportunity for you guys all to come and ask us questions. We want to know what you want to know about what we're doing, who we are, where we're doing it, and how we're doing it. So please utilize the Q&A option on Zoom as well. Ask questions throughout the evening. And what we will have is we'll have a Q&A section at the end, and some questions we may address during the event, depending on what the question relates to. But if I may ask, if you've got any questions, and especially if they're directed to a specific individual or a group within Mccomber, if you can actually specify that in your question, and it just allows us to better direct the questions accordingly. And then finally, on the housekeeping, we've got a number of panelists who will be coming in and out of the event. So if I can ask the panelists, while you're not on video, while you're not participating, please just remember to put yourself on mute and disconnect your video accordingly. And I think that's it on the housekeeping general admin piece. So I think what we have now is just a general overview of how the night's going to go. With any technical event, you never know. So if we have to move anything around, we'll definitely let you guys know. But the plan of tonight is to ensure that we're feeding back to you, our supporters, so that you can see what your support has actually lent to. And if there are ways for you guys to get involved, how you could do that as well. So without further ado, I would like to hand you over to our founders, Mark and Laura, who've got a nice welcome message for us. I think we can move on from that if the video's happening.
We're the Albertine family. Welcome to our annual Makomborero supporters event.
Tonight, we will be celebrating 10 years plus through video clips, interviews with alumni, and a few other surprises.
As you can see, we're at Hellenic Academy today, and we're running our 12th intake of scholarship pupils for next year.
It's always a privilege to have the students here and to be a part of this amazing process, to see our staff all come together, our current students. It really takes a whole team to make this whole testing process possible. And it also takes you guys, our donors and supporters. And we just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for making all that we do possible. And we really hope that you enjoy this evening.
Thank you. We look forward to meeting you at the end during the Q&A time.
Amazing. Thank you for that. I mean, what's a technical event without technical issues? Thanks for sorting that out, Nick. So that was Mark and Laura, the founders of Makomborero. This all started off as a dream for them, and you'll have an opportunity to actually ask them questions towards the end of the evening, because they will be joining us live from Zimbabwe. So I'm quite looking forward to that. So again, for those who have attended this event before, you'll know that we usually have a theme that we'd like to focus on. And this year, we'd like to celebrate that 10-year mark. It's been incredibly challenging. It's been incredibly rewarding. So we've got a video we'd like to show you just to celebrate the first 10 years of Mccomber and show you guys what your support has actually lent to and how we're actually achieving more and more every day. If we could launch that video.
2021 has been a year of celebrations for Makomborero. We are celebrating 10 years of transforming lives, and we are celebrating the incredible achievement of receiving £1 million in donations.
Whilst I was teaching at Gateway High School in Zimbabwe, they had a scholarship program which had these amazing kids that came from disadvantaged backgrounds. And I could see these kids in action. And by being at Gateway, they had the resources now to thrive. But I also noticed that they traveled long distances every day to go home. And I thought, you know, can we do this differently?
I think when we set out, it initially was to address very particular A-level needs within poor communities. But then as we started that, it kind of created this snowball effect where we realized that we wanted to support the kids so much more than just the 2 years in their A-level. So then the university grant scheme and girl mentorship programs, because we were struggling to recruit girls into our program, entrepreneurial training. So it kind of just has evolved with time.
Mark and Laura Albertine had a far-fetched dream when they founded the charity. However, since their return to Zimbabwe in 2010, Makomborero has grown to resemble the great baobab tree in our logo, with branches extending into educational scholarships, the Girl Mentorship Program, a mobile science lab, and other initiatives.
I'd say one of our biggest dreams right from day one was to be able to set up our own school, our own A-level sort of center, where we could welcome even more students that we currently work with. And for us, as part of our dream for them would be to raise up future leaders for Zimbabwe.
So I think the challenges over the years have been different. I think when you live in a country that's continually up and down, you've had to learn how to be adaptable, how to navigate continual change.
Okay. I think for me, the proudest moment was seeing our first pioneer group of 15 students, seeing them grow, see them thrive, see them do so well. The academic results were outstanding. Getting to know them at the boarding house that we were running and being so involved in their lives for 2 full years and seeing where they've got to now. And it's amazing.
So Mccomber has given me a lot that I wasn't expecting. I have learnt to straddle 2 cultures. I have learnt to love people unconditionally, irrespective of background, class, ethnicity. And I have learnt what they have to offer me, not just what I have to offer them. And that's been incredibly humbling.
We're so incredibly grateful for the role that you guys have played in keeping Mccomber going for the last 10 years and for helping us thrive and to achieve some of the things that we didn't even dream we could achieve. Yeah, thank you very much.
And don't underestimate how a little makes such a big difference in Zim. And I think sometimes we feel that we need to be doing big grand things to make an impact or giving huge amounts of money. And I always say to my students, don't despise the small things. And every little bit that gets given to Mccomborero plays a significant role
in changing students' lives.
Tinashe Rosie is one of our pioneer students, class of 2012. After his A-levels, he studied at Africa University.
I grew up in an environment where we were barely exposed to opportunities that will enable us to break the poverty cycle except through education. Thankfully, I managed to do well and I excelled until I was awarded a scholarship by Makomborero. When I graduated from Makomborero, I was privileged to earn a masterclass scholarship at African Leadership Academy to study computer science at African University in Zimbabwe. With a desire to have a positive impact in university, I took advantage of lack of entertaining facilities on campus and introduced video gaming facilities as well as table games. Through this opportunity, I successfully managed to support my family financially. Currently, I am doing data analytics and IT auditing. Most of my peers from my community now have children they are taken care of. I would have been in the same situation if it was not for Makomborero, which intervened and helped me further my studies.
Ian and Hosea have been involved in sponsoring Mccomber students through university since 2016.
We've been working with Macomborero for some years now. I'm not sure exactly, but probably 4 years. And we've started some really exciting programs with them and that we're proud to be associated with. The real focus for us is finding partners that are firstly fully engaged and secondly transparent. And I think with Macomborero, we found something that is really important to us in terms of education. And we can see that the commitment from the team is phenomenal and the investment in the children is world class.
So from the beginning to where we are now, our involvement with Mccomber has grown exponentially, and also purely because of the quality, I think the energy that the people from Mccomber have displayed has made it easier for us to become very involved with them.
For the students, I think Macomborero is a phenomenal opportunity. The opportunity to be taken in and to be mentored and educated by world-class educators. In Mark and Laura, the dedication and devotion to the children is outstanding. Also to get the opportunity to be placed at some of the top schools in Zimbabwe. It really is a life-changing opportunity.
Shailene Bajaba, class of 2018. After her A-levels, she went to Jacobs University in Germany.
I am the last in a family of 5, and we are a loud, happy, and warm bunch. We didn't grow up having a lot of things. My mother had to sacrifice a lot of things when we were growing up, and being the only person who was in charge of the finances in the house, I remember she had to do cross-border trading for a long time. I didn't have to see her for a long time. And also during the holidays, we had to pitch in with doing some part-time jobs. I had to sell secondhand clothes, for example, to just contribute to the family finance. MasterCard recently funded a project that I did at Chikubi Female and Farm Prison, and now I've transformed it into a component in my NGO. And what we do is we work with prisoners and pro-social, psychosocial, and mental health issues, and we are contributing to their rehabilitative journey before they are released from prison so as to reduce their recidivism rates. Makomborero helped me dream big. And I believe that if I could make it into Mccomber, I can make it anywhere.
Gonizashia Mandive, class of 2016. After his A-levels, he studied at Quest University in Canada.
Prior to coming to Mccomber, Zimbabwe, my family struggled to make ends meet. My father, who was the only breadwinner, was a potato vendor. My family struggled to pay for my school fees, date back to 2012. I was being sent back home because of non-payment of school fees. In 2013, my father was involved in a transaction that made him convicted and sentenced for a crime. So things got even worse because my father, who was the breadwinner, was not there anymore. So sometimes I had to do piece jobs, I had to work, and sometimes help my family to get some food to eat. Mccomber, Zimbabwe did not only help me with the financial means to continue my education. Mccomber, Zimbabwe helped me discover myself as a person. Coming to Mccomber was a major thing in my life. My whole view about myself changed. In short, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Mccomber, Zimbabwe.
Your extraordinary generosity has allowed us to support 195 students through their A-levels, getting outstanding results with over 69% of all their grades being an A or above. You have made it possible for Makomborero to provide grants for 50 students to study at Zimbabwe universities, and our graduates now include doctors, engineers, accountants, and the youngest ever chief pharmacist at any government hospital in Zimbabwe. Your support has allowed us to educate not just our students, but their families too, with 67 families lifted out of the cycle of poverty through our Ndeyipi small business training. And our Untitled program funds community-based projects run by our past students. You have enabled us to extend our support to students before they even reach their A-levels, encouraging over 90 vulnerable girls to continue with their education through our Girl Mentorship Program. Thank you all for walking this journey with us.
Love, friendship, hope.
Wow. Okay. Full disclosure, I hadn't seen that video. And we have an ongoing challenge within the Mccomber family, and that is, please, can we get through an event without floods of tears? After seeing that video, I think that challenge is going to be that much harder. So, you know, I'd like to hand over to one of our trustees, Simba, from we are based in the UK, and he's going to be talking to two of our incredible long-standing supporters, Doctors Yu and Rosie Rayner. I'll hand over to you, Simba.
Thank you, Tinashe. Yes, we are excited to have in our midst today a couple who are one of Macomborero's staunchest supporters. The two of them have journeyed with Macomborero for as long as I can remember, and it is truly an honor that you guys have agreed to take part in our proceedings tonight as you give a donor's perspective to this decade we're celebrating tonight. So yeah, to facilitate this session, we will have the session in a Q&A format. And to kick us off, it doesn't matter really who answers, but yeah, how did you come to know about Macomborero, and how long have you been involved as supporters or donors?
Well, 10 years ago, our son Sam was doing A-levels in sciences, and he traveled to Zimbabwe in the summer vacation, 2 years running actually, and he was working with another organization with children in orphanages. But he happened to meet Mark and Laura when he was there in 2011, and they were just setting up their Makomborero, and he was very impressed by the ideas that they had to help A-level education in Zimbabwe. So when he came home, he described it to us, and it was just the right sort of charity for us to support as we were moving towards retiring from the NHS. So the following year, Sam invited us to travel with him to Zimbabwe, and we visited Makomborero, and we also visited some other projects in Harare, which Laura had organized for us. And we were again very impressed by what was going on. But at that time, they were having to pay rent for the boarding house. And we went again 3 years later in 2015. And we were able to actually visit the current boarding house, which they were hoping to purchase. So we've had wonderful contact with Mccomberero over the years, and our son Sam also keeps in touch. Yeah.
Sure. No, thanks, Rosie. Now, you mentioned that not only did Sam go, you then went twice after that. What in particular can you recall, if at all, attracted you, and what was it about Mccomber that made you want to get involved?
Well, it suited us because both of us had scholarships when we were students, and so we knew what a difference it could make. I mean, our backgrounds were incomparable to the situations that the students in Zim have, but getting that support meant that we felt a desire to give back. And the other thing is the kind of education we had at the university was a collegiate education, where we felt not just part of a university, but part of a much more personal engagement with an organization, and got tutorials and supervisions in a way that Makomborero emulates in some ways. And so the whole thing felt very familiar to us. The whole educational style felt very familiar to us. And then when we were invited to came out with Sam, we did some teaching in the classrooms, and we did teaching as doctors of medical students, but I've never had an experience of teaching such a huge group of students who are so eager to learn. And it was just so rewarding to feel that you could give just things that were straightforward to us were so inspiring for them, and that was tremendously rewarding.
Thanks for that, Hugh. And through that journey, I mean, we keep to this theme of a decade. Can you describe perhaps the evolution you have seen during the time you've been following and supporting Mccomberero, just from a donor's perspective, how you've seen Mccomberero grow and some of the milestones you've observed?
Yes, I think one of the things was that it became obvious early on that you couldn't sponsor a child through their A-levels and then just leave them to their own devices after their A-levels. So Hugh and I felt quite strongly that some support needed to be continued through college, whether that was in Africa or elsewhere. And other scholarships were available for students to apply for internationally, but the local students needed that support. So we saw the setting up of the University Grants Program in Mccomberero, which I think has been absolutely essential for at least half of the students. And also we saw them moving from the model of the original boarding house to the resource center, where they were able to introduce the idea of having a laboratory which could be made available to schools to help A-level students have some experience of practical science. And we could see the importance of that and the importance of encouraging the girls in particular to do science subjects, because many girls feel science isn't for them, or they're going to leave school early because their parents can't afford to support them. So those were the developments that happened over the years as resources became available. And we've been so inspired by the leadership of the Albertines and their team, the other people who support Mccomberero, and we've seen it develop, so it's been very inspiring.
No, thank you. Thanks for that. And this next one might be hard, but if I can have an response from both of you. But looking back, I mean, can you think of one highlight that stands out for you throughout the time? I mean, throughout the time that you've been involved with Mccomber. So a question to both you, Rosie, and you.
Yeah. My highlight was in 2015, when we saw the current resource centre for the first time. And it was purchased from a couple who were leaving Harare, coming back to the UK. But it was just so perfect as the building that was needed to house the A-level students and to provide other facilities for Mccomberero to grow. So, you know, that was the highlight for me. Sorry about the dog.
Yeah, we've got a problem with our puppy here. And he's just getting through a vast number of treats to keep him quiet. So, the highlight for me and for Rose, but I'll speak to it, is the way we've been able to engage with the students who've come over to Edinburgh University in the UK, and to get to know them as they've grown up. So Prince, for example, has been in Edinburgh, and we've kept in touch with him. And we're hoping to have some of the students see us over Christmas, for example, and to have that personal long-term involvement with the students has been really wonderful. And it was interesting to hear Laura describe how she got more out of it than she realized. It's not about giving, it's about receiving. And that's the way we've felt too, that it's broadened our perspective on so many levels and been so rewarding for us to get to know these people.
No, excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. And my final question, I guess, I understand you have a particular affinity for medical students, for Mccomber as well, of course, from what you've described, but one can see the link with your own medical backgrounds as retired doctors, but what else drives this, and how do you see Mccomber making an impact in this space, healthcare and medicine?
Well, we had an exposure to medical education in Kenya when we were undergraduates. So the medical training aspects are particularly appealing to us for that reason. And we know that of all the students in Zim at the moment, the medical students and the doctors, once they've graduated, have a very hard time organizing their careers. And so we feel particularly acutely how important it is that we support them to try and navigate the hurdles, cope with the difficult decisions they have to make and choices of career, whether they stay in Zim, whether they come overseas. But clearly the long-term hope is that they will be able to return to Zim in the longer term and create a marvelous diaspora of students, and also a sort of snowball effect where they give back through supporting future students. And the whole multiplication, the snowball of the numbers of students is very exciting. That it's not too unrealistic, I think, to think of a whole cadre of student leaders, medical leaders, as well as in other specialties, who could make a national difference to Zimbabwe, which in the long term is our great hope.
Great. No, thank you so much. Those were my questions, but just checking that you didn't have anything else you wanted to share, just from a donor perspective, not from what.
The only thing I would add is just to echo what Laura said. It's not necessarily about big money. It's small money, and it's the personal involvement that makes such a difference. So one shouldn't feel any limit on the value of the commitment that you want to make as a supporter. It doesn't have to be big. Everything helps, and just spreading the word. There's a story I won't go into, but just chance encounters with people, chance connections with people can have surprising benefits of bringing other people in. And so spreading the word about Mccomberero, even if you can't give yourself, give of your time and your commitment and your voice, can be as important as anything.
Great. No, thank you very much for that. And yeah, your support is immense. I know that I speak for the board of trustees and the founders, Mark and Laura, to just live to say thank you so much for your ongoing support. That snowball effect is felt and seen, the multiply effect. So really grateful for all your support. So back over to you, Tinashe. But thank you so much, you and Rosie.
Thank you, Simba. Thank you, Hugh and Rosie. One key thing that stood out to me there as well is exactly what they've said, and I'd echo the same thing, in that as a charity, we always need financial support. But there's so many ways in which you can continue to support these students, while there's students as well as post-graduation as well. And I think you and Rosie have actually demonstrated that. So thank you so much for leading that and giving us ideas about how else we can get involved as well. Speaking of finances, however, one of the things that we do discuss on an annual basis is the Big Give. It's a huge event that takes place every year. And again, what usually happens is every year charities across the world, and this is usually run out of the US, but these are charities across the world, are given an incredible opportunity post, I think it's Black Friday, Thanksgiving. In America, everyone's feeling generous, and there's a culture post Thanksgiving in the US to contribute and give back to society. So Mccomber is really privileged in that we've been given an opportunity to fundraise through the Big Give. And effectively what this is, it's a week-long program through which during that week, we have a target that we need to meet. So as you can see on the presentation there, it starts on the 30th of November. And for a period of 1 week, we've given ourselves a £3,000 target in which to raise funds. Now, the caveat is these funds have to be new donors. So if you're an individual who's already donated to Makomborero through the Big Give at any point in the year, your donation during this week will not be counted as part of the Big Give contribution. The great thing about if we do manage to achieve this £3,000 target is we have an incredible corporate sponsor, as well as pledges, who have said if Mccomber meets this £3,000 target, that £3,000 is going to be matched. So the Big Give will release an additional £3,000 to the charity. And of course, that's going to go towards our programs. So year on year, sometimes we pick a specific project we'd like to focus on. So for example, we had the big science lab that we wanted to launch. That was a huge project. We had a big project for that. We had the Girl Mentorship Program. But this year, we're focused on the program as a whole. So for those of you who are already... Yeah.
Forgive me for interrupting. I just want to clarify that the Big Give, the people that cannot donate are the pledgers. Anybody else can donate. The only people that are not allowed to donate as part of the Big Give campaign are the people that have pledged already. Forgive me for adding the confusion.
No, please go right ahead. That's okay, Nick, thanks. So what we would like to do is just again encourage you all, if you aren't a pledger, please do spread the word, social media, through email. We'll be sending a communication out to all our supporters through our newsletter as well. So if you would like to contribute, please go right ahead, but we also encourage you to share the word as well. So that's the Big Give challenge, and we'll be sharing that through communication post this event. So you might be asking, okay, fine, do I give? Do I not give? How much do I give? And at Mccomber, we've got a vast amount of projects that we work on. And, you know, over the years, we've given you insight into some of these projects, and you can go onto our website and see some of the projects that we're involved in. But today, we'd like to bring your attention to one of our more recent projects that we've launched, and it's called Mutsidzira. And in Shona, for those of you who don't speak Shona, that means to revive. And for anyone who doesn't know, Makomborero means blessing. So this project is quite in keeping with that ethos of blessing, in that it leads to the whole blessed to be a blessing concept, because we don't believe in just take. What we do with our students is we encourage an ethos of, you've been given something great, now let's give back to the community from which you've come from. Let's give back and help grow these communities so that it's not just one student who's benefiting, it's the wider community. And the Mutsidzira project that we've launched and that we've been running successfully, and you'll hear more about in a minute, actually is a grant giving scheme whereby Mccomber feeds into these community projects run by Mccomber alumni specifically. So if we can launch that video and give the donors some information on that, please.
Mutsitsira is Mccomber, Zimbabwe's most recent project and is an annual grant awarding competition that is open to past Makomborero students. Mutsitsira means to revive, and the students apply for a grant to run a community-based project aimed at serving the communities they grew up in.
We were able to keep 50 chickens. We lost about 8, and when we sold the remaining, we made a profit. And from the profits, we were able to finance our physical meeting on sexual and reproductive health, where we are having young people come, and we have experts coming to discuss on these issues that are affecting the people in our society.
The project should be something that will either have long-term benefits for the community or a short-term one-off project. The amount awarded for each project may vary annually.
My project is Golden Circle dishwashing liquid. So the project in itself is manufacturing dishwashing liquid, and it's been running for about 7 months now. So far, I've managed to engage a number of shops that's been helping me to distribute and to sell the product.
Very powerful kuishandisa kwacho saka makasitoma mazhinji anoifarira.
Mutsitsira was launched in 2020 with 3 projects starting in early 2021. As the name suggests, Mutsitsira aims to revive communities by effecting projects that bring solutions to the struggles in the grant winners' communities.
And we also hold training sessions for the women and girls in Dwarasekwa, where we educate them about menstrual hygiene, and we also have a sewing training session where we teach them how to sew their own sanitary wear, how to make their own sanitary wear, and then which they can use or sell to make an income.
Mutsitsira also aims to involve as much as possible those who live in those communities.
Airogadzana utendo tikawashandisa tinowasha tonga patinoita kuzoda takuzoenda futi kunguva yedu tozongwashandisa zvakare hatirambi chiri tiitenga per month pega pega.
The hope is that we can grow it to become a project that will impact all the other communities.
I will be implementing some of the ideas standards panapa kuitira kuti vanhu vakati wandei vave educated about SRHR.
I was very excited to be able to just give input, give direction, and contribute somehow to them achieving their goals.
Mutsitsira, our communities in our hands.
Thanks for that, Nick. So if anyone's still undecided about contributing to the Big Give, that's one of the many projects that you can get involved in, because we issue these grants to the individuals who actually win the competition. And as you can see, these are life-changing opportunities that we take for granted sometimes, but we don't realize that in some communities, these are aspects that actually are changing lives in terms of income and just that sense of dignity that we can give back to our community. So again, if you needed any push with regards to whether or not to get involved, there's a little something to whet your appetite. I'd like to hand over to one of our other trustees based here in the UK, Nicola Baldwin, and she's going to be speaking to some of our alumni actually. So I'll hand over to you, Nick.
Thanks, Tinashe. So good evening, everyone. I'm Nicola, and I'm one of the trustees of Makomborero UK. Feedback from last year's event was hearing directly from past students was a particular highlight of the evening. So it gives me great pleasure tonight to introduce you to 3 of our alumni from the 2012 intake year. Terry joins us from the US, Chiedza from Zimbabwe, Blessing from Turkey, and so it really is a global affair. And I just want to say thank you all for taking time out of your busy lives to join us and share your stories. Almost without exception, all of our students achieve excellent A-level results, but this is only the beginning of the journey. At Mccomber, as you've heard, we passionately believe that these young people will not only be successful in their personal capacities, but are future leaders and have the ability to impact their families, communities, and the wider world in significant ways. Nearly 10 years on from being awarded their Mccomber scholarships, you will hear their stories this evening. It is a truly exciting time to be part of the Mccomber family and be able to start to see these young people make their mark on the world. I'm going to introduce the students one by one, and I shall be putting some questions to them. We really do encourage you to get involved via the Q&A if you have questions, and we'll endeavour to put these to Tari, Chiedza and Blessing either at the end of this section or at the panelist session at the end. Just one point to note though, if your question is directed at a particular person, please could you make this clear? So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Tari. Tari attended St. George's High School and went on to complete a 5-year engineering program at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire, USA, graduating in 2019. Tari is now working as a product development engineer for a startup and continues to be based in New Hampshire. So Tari, tell us a little bit about your current role. How do you feel your journey so far has helped you succeed in this role?
Thank you, Nicola, for the introduction. Can you hear me clearly?
Perfect.
Okay, just want to make sure because sometimes you go on speaking to yourself. So as Nicholas mentioned, I'm currently based in New Hampshire. I did a 5-year program at Dartmouth College. To answer to your question, I would say being at Mccomber did really help me to broaden my worldwide view and to get exposed to different cultures. During my O-level days, I was living in a homogeneous society, but going to St. George's introduced me to other beliefs, which is something that played a big part in my college days. College for me felt like being at Makomborero again, just that at this point, I had the experience, I had learned 1 or 2 things from being at St. George's about being in a new environment. I managed to learn that education was not just about academics. It was about focusing on other things outside of the class that can develop you as a whole person, which is something that helped me because I went on to take some leadership roles early in my college career that have come to help in my current job. Working at a startup company with about 30 employees means you're wearing like different hats. And that has not been a problem because I've had that experience of not focusing on just one thing, but being all over the place, so as to say. So being able to branch out in college did really help me start off my career at this place. So yeah, so I would say one of the big things from my Makomborero days was about branching out and being exposed to different worldviews.
Wonderful. And giving back to your community and to Mccomber is clearly a passion for you, Tari. Please could you talk us through your initiatives with the Science Lab and the Alumni Network?
Yeah, Tinashe has already mentioned that earlier on about how giving back is something that Mccomber tries to instill in its students so that you are not, just waiting for you to be working or I guess to be rich to have resources to give back, but you can just give back by devoting your time as a student. So that's something that I did in college. During my sophomore year, I volunteered to help with setting up the mobile lab. When I arrived, it was just a lot of equipment that were donated. A big thanks to the donors who donated those equipment. My job was to design the initial curriculum and organize those lab equipment that were going to be used. And by the end of my internship, I managed to actually perform an experiment with various students from different schools. And that was really satisfying to see all these students coming from different places around Harare, coming to experience what it feels like to actually to have your hands on what you're learning. During my O-level days, I never really managed to actually perform an experiment. My first experiment was when I was under Makomborero. So watching someone actually have that opportunity and knowing that a lot of students were going to have this kind of opportunity that will help them learn better, also stay in the sciences, was really satisfying and kept me going during that summer internship. So that's something that I'm really proud of. And one of the other things that I'm also doing for giving back to Makomborero is being part of the alumni network, which just recently started. We also have a mentorship program as part of that alumni network, where we have past students, the alums, having one mentor students. So it's a one-to-one pairing of internal students, and next year we will hope to also include external students. And the goal is that in the future, every student will want to be a mentor because they would have been helped through that process. Currently, we're already seeing fruits from this program, as mentors have been helping current students by reviewing university application essays, just giving them advice about career choices. For most of the students who are currently at the boarding house or external students, they are probably the first in their family to want to go to college or to be on a path to go to college. So having someone actually give you that advice and help you know that you are not the first one to do it is really encouraging. They know that they are not alone in this journey. So that's something that I'm also really proud of to be part of. And I hope that this continues in the future.
Awesome. I bet you're proud. It sounds like a lot of hard work. And it's obviously taken a lot of hard work and dedication to achieve what you have so far. So where do you find your inspiration, Terry?
I would say my parents have really been a source of inspiration on this journey, just from my high school days, watching how they tried to, they strived hard for us to continue being focused in school. During my O-level days, that was post the 2008 economic hardship in Zimbabwe. So at some point they both lost their jobs, but they still managed to find ways for me to continue going to school, just be focused together with my brothers. So up to this day, every time that I feel like I'm slacking, I just remember about those days, how hard they kept on working, and they're still working hard. That keeps me going, and it is my goal for me to continue to provide and paying back that favor they did to me in the coming years. So that does keep me going.
Perfect. Thanks, Terry. And we've had a question from one of our audience members at the moment for you as well, Terry. He says, what do you think you would have been doing now if you had not had the contact you have had with Mccomber?
Oh, good question. I would like to think that I probably would still maybe doing something along the lines of engineering, but I don't know if I would exactly be maybe in the US or I might be in Zimbabwe. I would say like the big difference from the Mccomber path that I took came to having, the resources of applying to the US. That process was not as hard as it can be because I had access to the internet on a daily basis. I had access to other groups that helped me prepare for like college essays, SATs. So I would say the location of where I am today is probably a big part of being part of the Makomborero network.
Fantastic. Thanks, Terry. So hopefully we've got Chiedza and Blessing with us as well. I'm not seeing either of their videos yet, but Chiedza and Blessing, are you there? Great. Chiedza, welcome. So Chiedza was one of our external students in 2012, so she continued to study at her local high school with the support of Mccomber. She is currently in her 5th year of studying medicine at the University of Zimbabwe. And in addition to her studies and time at the hospital, she's also recently got married, congratulations, and started her own business. Wow. Chiedza, I think you might still be on mute. Oh, maybe not. Anyway, Chiedza, please can you talk to us about your decision to become a doctor and in particular your passion for women's health?
Thank you, Nikki. From as early as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a doctor. I just grew up saying I wanted to be a doctor. I had a passion for science subjects, biology in particular, and I just thought to myself, why not go to medical school? So I resolved within myself to work hard so that I could get accepted into medical school. And then for the passion for women's health. So this developed when I was doing my 4th year rotations in medical school. I was rotating in obs and gyne. And I discovered a lot of issues that drew my attention. For example, I discovered that women were not women in my community were not really comfortable talking or seeking medical attention concerning issues that have to do with sexual and reproductive health. So this was all embedded in cultural beliefs. For example, I can talk about menstrual health. Like the women in my community aren't as comfortable talking about menstrual health as they should be. Thereby, we have them receiving no education. Thereby, they have no access to proper sanitary wear, and they end up using inappropriate material that could put them at risk of getting infections. We can also have issues like cervical cancer, for instance. There are a lot of screening strategies that are available to detect the cancer in its earlier stages and get it treated. But because women find it hard to talk about these issues, to talk about issues that have to do with their sexual and reproductive health, they end up presenting at hospitals late in the late stages of the disease, where now we have to employ more radical approaches which reduce the quality of life. We can also talk about maybe adult survivors of rape. These are issues that are really, people are afraid to talk about such issues because they say, in my community, there's this belief that if you are raped, it's somehow your fault. So they delay getting medical attention. Thereby they miss the 72-hour window, which is critical for someone who has gone through such an experience. And also, we have, right now I'm rotating in my pediatrics rotation. We are seeing babies that are being born HIV positive with congenital syphilis. All of these conditions could have been identified in pregnancy and the mother treated such that the baby could be safe, but because most of these women are reluctant to seek medical attention, they end up not getting treated. So I just discovered this gap and I just thought to myself, why not go into this area and make a contribution that could make a difference? So I just resolved that I'm going to be specializing in women's health.
That's fantastic. So what would you like to change in the future with regards to this taboo of the medical issues in Zimbabwe? And share, if you can, share with us some of the ideas that you've had.
Okay, so mainly I would like to change the perception that people have towards these issues. I've discovered that the more knowledge that people have towards a certain subject, the more they are likely to understand it, the more they're likely to cooperate with interventions that are available. So my main focus will be on awareness and educational campaigns So we have to let these people know that it's okay to talk about these things. It's okay to be sick. It's okay not to be okay, actually, because women are just supposed to be strong and enjoy everything, but it's actually okay and it's actually beneficial to seek attention, to seek help earlier so that you can be assisted. Because some of these things have timelines, and some of these things will turn into something that are irreversible. So my main focus will be on doing awareness campaigns, educational campaigns, especially in the remote areas where we see most of these issues. So I also plan on doing sort of medical outreaches, such that after teaching these women about their health, about awareness, after teaching them to seek medical attention, we have to make these services available to them. So I believe this can form the basis where women are empowered in issues concerning their health.
That's fantastic. So now tell us, Chiedza, you were an external student with Mccomber rather than an internal student. So can you share with us a little bit about the support that you received as an external student, particularly with regard to life skills?
Okay, one big thing I learned from Makomborero as the value of community engagement. Being part of Makomborero, I had the chance and the privilege of joining in what we call the revision school. So this is basically where we go to high schools and assist exam classes in their studies. This taught me a lot about the value of giving back. It's not about the money that I have, but it's what I have at that moment that can help. So I really enjoyed being part of that, and it's a value that has been instilled in me about community engagement. I have families that got to benefit from the DEP program, which is something that Makomborero initiated. So all this just taught me that I just don't have to live for myself, but for others as well. I can also talk about career guidance. There was this one time that Dr. Reina came and gave career guidance to us as medical students. This was of great help. It was encouraging. I was revived, with medical school. You face a lot of pressure and all, but I really enjoyed that session. We loved it to the extent that group of medical students, we organized a career guidance session to one of their local schools in our community. So it was a group of Mccomber students. We just went to the school and gave a career guidance session. With Makomborero, I learned a lot on mental health. So Miss A would invite us over to a place where she would just talk about mental health, depression, and how to deal with it. And as students in college, this was of great help, because there were moments indeed when we would be depressed, when we would be overwhelmed. But because of these sessions, I personally learned how to deal with depression, how to deal with my mental health. And this has helped me a lot.
Yes. Fantastic. Thank you, Chiedza, for sharing with us. And yeah, if anybody's got any questions for Chiedza, please do write them in the Q&A and stick with us, Chiedza. We might come back to you after you've had a chat with Blessing. So, Blessing, are you there?
Yes.
Welcome. So, Blessing attended Gateway High School. He studied computer engineering in Turkey and graduated in 2019 as the second best student in his department and the third best student in the engineering faculty as a whole. Wow. He is currently studying for his master's in Turkey while working part-time remotely for a UK startup company. So fantastic. Blessing, please tell us a little bit about your background, your family, and how you ended up becoming a Mccomber student.
Well, thanks, Nicola. So, yeah, I just want to point out first, before I start my talking about myself, that it's actually interesting because Tarangana, Cheers, and I were in the same class for Form 3 and Form 4. So it's good to see both Tari and Cheers, today. I have those memories from the past. But yeah, so I was born and raised in this high density suburb of Mufakose, which is in Harare, Zimbabwe. And yeah, so I'm the first child in a family of 3 boys. And yeah, so I had a classic, high density suburb childhood. And so I also, when Mufakose, that's why I did my primary education as well as my secondary education. So then I managed to, so then I finished at Mufakose 2 High. But before I finished my O levels at Mufakose 2 High, a group that was one stream ahead of us at Mufakose 2 High, some of them got accepted to Makomborero, like 3 students from that stream. At that time, the Mccomber scholarship was called the KST, Kuburga Secondary Trust. So yeah, so it was a big thing. I remember that time because when we were Form 3, we started looking for, we started to research on scholarship opportunities. So when we had that as the stream ahead of us, 3 people had been accepted to this scholarship. So it was like, yeah, maybe we can try that next time. Maybe we can go next time, something like that. So then the following year, the Mccomber people came. I think it was Mark and some people, probably the pioneer students, came to Mufakose 2I. And yeah, they came. I think we had like a math class with them, and then afterwards, then we were invited to apply for the Mccomber scholarship. So I applied, and then I was shortlisted to the second round, where we went and actually did the tests at the boarding house. And yeah, and then there was more screening, and then we were invited to the next round, where we asked more questions, more tests. And yeah, and then I happened to be to be selected as one of the 8 students. So that was the journey.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so yeah, after Mccomberero, you ended up studying in Turkey. So yeah, tell us a little bit about the challenges that you faced and how you felt you had the skills to not only survive, but also to thrive in a new culture, continent, and language.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So that's a great question, really. So so what happened was when I was at Mccomber, and when I was at Mccomber, I was studying at Gateway High School, and I had this exposure where I met people from different backgrounds. And obviously, as Gateway High is in school, which is furnished with with resources and career guidance. Then we had exposure, we had opportunities to hear from universities. So during that time, then I had this natural desire to study abroad. But then the question was, okay, how am I going to get funding, scholarships? Because if I want to study abroad, then I need to get a scholarship. But so what happened that time was my first choice was, I think it was studying in the US. Yeah. So I thought of studying in the US. I did have some schools. I think I applied to 4 schools. Yes, 4 schools in the US. I also applied to 2 schools in Canada, applied to 1 school in Algeria, and I applied to 1 local university in Zimbabwe just for backup. So here's the funny story. So all my applications did not work out. And so when I started getting those rejections, which I was not used to, then then I started really thinking about, okay, what would I do next as a backup option? So I had heard about a scholarship which was in Turkey from one of the pioneer students who had applied, Tinashe Z. So that was in my mind to apply to Turkey. But at that time, so I did apply to Turkey as a backup option. Then what happened was I also get rejected from from the with the local university. So that was weird. And so at one time I did not have hope. I didn't have hope with Turkey, because I thought that was also not going to work out, since I had received rejections from almost every scholarship or school. So, but finally I did get a scholarship to come to Turkey. So what happened, since all the other doors had closed, so to me it was quite clear that I think a door for me had opened to go to Turkey. So it was less confusing. I think for me that was the best case scenario, because if I got accepted everywhere, then it would have been hard to make a decision. So so that was good. I felt like it was always a clear sign, that the door had opened for me to go to Turkey, and it was a full scholarship, so that was really great. So then obviously when I came here, I had challenges. So one of the major challenges was the language, because here the official language is Turkish, not English. So people here speak Turkish, and when I came here, I didn't know any Turkish, so that was hard to get along. And yeah, so the language was the language barrier was really a big thing, and of course it was a different culture. But I think for me, what helped me was the exposure I got from Makomborero, because at Mccomber I had a chance to study at Gateway High, where I was meeting with different people from different backgrounds. And for me, it was particularly a big thing. Why? Because in the place where I grew up in Mfakose, when we see people from maybe from a different background, those people who are financially well off, then you kind of see them as being different. They are like different from you. It's like they've got something special. So, but then when I went to Gateway, it's like you are mingling with these people who come from different backgrounds, maybe like people who are like financially, in good positions. But then when I was Gateway, it was like, they're also humans like me. We are equals. There's really like nothing special. So that when I was at Gateway High, it kind of broke that barrier, so that when I would talk with these people, we would talk as equals. So when I came here, that really helped me. So I didn't have any fear to express myself, in this different culture, where there were different people, and also I think it gave me.
I need to cut you off because we're running out of time.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for sharing your story with us. There aren't any questions currently in the Q&A, but if anybody does have any questions for Blessing specifically, then do drop them in the Q&A and we will get back to them towards the end of the event. So I am now going to head back to Tinashe. Thanks, Blessing, Chedza and Tari, for giving us your time.
Thanks, Nick. It's always great to hear from the students, as in you always hear about what's going in, but it's always great to see what's coming out as well. And thank you all. You make us all so proud. I know we're quite possessive about our Mccomber students, as in these are our students. We're really, really proud of you all for carrying the Mccomber flag the way you do. I believe we have a thank you video from the wider group of Mccomber students. Nick, could you cue that up for us, please? Great, thanks. We're coming close to the end of the event now, but I'd like to hand you over to our chairman, Tunde. Sorry, actually, before we do that, Simba, are there any Q&A points that have come up in the Q&A section?
Yeah, there are no Q&As, but I don't know if there's any live questions or if anyone wants to post anything just to create the space as we draw to an end. Otherwise, I think you're right, Tanatsa. If you do have any questions, yeah, I think you have the trustees here in the UK and the trustees in Zimbabwe, and our website to inquire how you might get involved and support. But back over to you, Tanatsa.
No problem. So Tunde, if you could come on, I'd like to introduce everyone to our chairman, Tunde, who's been with the charity from the very beginning. I believe you've got a few words of thank you for our supporters.
Yeah, so first of all, I'd just like to say a big wow to all the videos and all the interviews we've had, and a big thank you to everyone who's joined us to celebrate 10 years of making a difference in the lives of young Zimbabweans. As you've heard, the journey has been one checkered with highs and lows, but the ride has been worth it. The great results and personal testimonies you've all heard are tangible evidence of the impact our interventions as a charity is having on many whose rich potential would have been lost to the fog of poverty and lack of opportunities. Nevertheless, as I've always said, there is more to what we do than simply having good results or impressive statistics. Our model is to focus on a few with deep investments in individuals to realize their potential of well-rounded young men and women. And you've heard the testimonies tonight to see the evidence of that. They in turn are being equipped to make an impact beyond themselves with the capacity that they realize they have. The advantage of this strategy was brought home to us during the recent local restrictions caused by the pandemic. The efforts of the operational team on the ground in adapting to ever-changing situations with agile and resilient solutions has ensured their education was not adversely disrupted. And that's a credit to the benefit of this customized approach. Through this, our loyal supporters like you have faithfully been with us all the way, with donations, as can be seen by the 1 million target has been met, time such as your presence here tonight, or skills such as those who are the Sage Volunteer Network, and networks in spreading the word with friends and family and colleagues at work or neighbors. Together, I believe we are laying the foundation that would change the narrative of not just those in Zimbabwe, but the world at large, as more of these impressive lives begin to impact on their generation and inspire future ones to come. I am excited by what you have helped us to achieve, and as you continue to drive us forward with your help and encouragement. I cannot wait to hear more stories. So I can end by saying here's to another 10 years and many more decades to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Tunde. And like I said, Tunde has been with us from the very, very beginning. So you've seen the progress of the charity over the 10 years as well. So I'd like to give you all just one final reminder on the big give. You've seen what impact, the support you actually give us does for the charity. So if you've got any questions for us, please feel free to continue to ask throughout the year. We have this event once a year, but we're available throughout the year, and we're constantly looking for people who can help the charity financially, yes, but there's so many other ways you can get involved in as well. So get in touch, ask us any questions that you have. I'll ask you, Simba, one more time if there are any questions before we move to the final.
Sure. So there's one for Mark and Laura asking how have Mark and Laura coped with the COVID pandemic. So yeah, Mark and Laura, if you can come on and share. Can you see that question? Yeah.
How we coped with the COVID pandemic. I think worldwide it's been a huge disruption to many people's lives. If we talk about it in the Zimbabwe context, it's been a huge disruption to education. And I think our students that stay in the boarding house and even some of our university students have really benefited by the resources that were made available to them so that they could study, could keep going online with lessons. And I think the schools they attend have been amazing. Our external students, we were particularly concerned about. And we put in place a project where we actually took recordings and resources from our partner schools and put them on a tablet within an app. And we were able to try and help our students keep learning, because many of the government schools stayed closed for pretty much the full 2 years. What I would say is that Zimbabwean students, I'm sure they're worldwide, you get similar people, but Zimbabwean students are so resilient. They're determined to learn. And we, in our testing process, we've seen the kids who have been out of school for nearly 2 years, who clearly have worked so hard to try and keep up by themselves and by working in small groups as friends and stuff. So it's been tough, but I would say that Zimbabweans are super cool people.
It's quite interesting when you talk about the Mccomber learning app and how you've done that, the way that it's invented. But what strikes me is the fact that it was developed again by, well, you say alumni, but students that are on a gap year. So quite encouraging. Another question that's coming through is whether there is any aspirations to start up in the US. The specific question is just rolled over.
So so with that, I think obviously when you start something, you need a group of people to establish something and carry on a vision. So I think that's very key whenever you set up something like that. But we also have an incredible opportunity through a giving platform called Global Giving. And it's linked to the UK charity, but it enables people in the US to be able to give and get that tax break that I think, I don't really understand it too much with American giving, but I know that's quite an important component. And through the Global Giving platform, Americans can donate and benefit tax-wise. So we were really pleased to be able to do that without necessarily having to set up a foundation in America.
Sure. We'll just go for one more question, 30 seconds, because the other ones have been answered on the text I can see. But for you, where do you see, I guess from each of you, where do you see Mccomber in another 10 years' time?
I think for me personally, I'd love us to have our own school. I think that's always been our biggest dream. And aside from that is to see all our alumni from 20 years then, because it'll be 2 lots of 10, that will be leaders all over the world, but in particular leaders that are in Zimbabwe or giving back to Zimbabwe in some form or other. And maybe some of them are actually teachers at our school.
Excellent, excellent. No, thank you. Thank you, Mark and Laura. Back to you, Tanata, for the last piece.
No problem. Thank you for everyone who's attended. There are a lot of people who are working behind the scenes, so thank you to Nick as well. I know he's been making sure everything's been running smoothly. I know there are people in Zimbabwe, we've been hearing about power cuts and everything else, but you guys soldiered through and made sure that you were going to be available for that. And I know that we've got people who've attended from different regions as well, and of course from the UK. And you know, what's great about this event is you see year on year how the charity is growing. So thank you again for everyone who's attended. Now, we've got a special little treat for you as we sign out. One of our former students, brilliant musician. You want to say you knew him now before he gets to where he went. So Taku's written a song specifically for Makomborero. He's going to play, that's going to be played out for us as we end the evening. And then of course, like we said, this isn't the end. We'll be back next year, but do keep in touch throughout the evening. And again, thank you all for attending and have a good evening. Take it away, Taku.
Makomborero, Makomborero, anobva kudenga ya. Makomborero, Makomborero, anobva kudenga. Fundo enaka, yera mangwana redu, titi saimanava, vavakenyika. Tive ne pundutso, tive ne raramo, tikashire makomborero. Fundo inaka, yera mangwana redu, titi saimanava, vavakenyika. Tive ne pundutso, tive ne raramo, tikashire makomborero. Makomborero, Makomborero, anobva kudenga ya. Makomborero, zvipo zvinobva kudenga. We receive the light in the new generation. We see a brighter Zimbabwe in the making. A better generation, Taboo Makomborero. We receive the light in the new generation. We see a brighter Zimbabwe in the making. A better generation, Taboo Makomborero. Makomborero, Makomborero, anobva kudenga. Makomborero, zvipo zvinobva kudenga. Makomborero, anobva kudenga. Makomborero, izvi zvipo zvinobva kudenga.